Yes, the recording is in progress. Yes, one of the juicy parts, which is the keynote speech by none other than the founder member, or charter member of our club, our club. I almost think this is our club. Trainers and coaches, Toastmasters, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm very much a part of this club, though I'm not a member of this club, just to let you know. Yes, anyways, yes. So let me introduce you to our keynote speaker for today. She is a personal friend of mine, and I met her in 2018 in the District 51 25th anniversary conference. And I thought, wow, this lady is so vibrant, so energetic. I mean, she was a joy to talk to. This lady is Miranda Romy, whom you all are quite familiar with. Miranda is an emotional healing and compassionate communication coach and trainer. She joined Toastmasters in 2008, is a founder of Magical Bali Toastmasters Club, and currently serves as District 87 training chairperson. And she's also the immediate past division governor G, and is the treasurer in her two clubs, Magical Bali and Trainers and Coaches Advanced. She's dedicating this part, visionary communication, to raise awareness and educate the public about mental health, which are very prevalent and relevant, yet rarely addressed and talked about. She hopes this speech series would help people to have a better understanding of their life challenges and what they can do about them to have more empowering, fulfilling, and satisfying lives. So we have Miranda Romy with her keynote speech titled, wait, I have to get this right or I will get something from Miranda Romy which will not be nice. Yes, are you proud of me? How to be at peace with the answer you got. Are you proud of me? How to be at peace with the answer you got. Distinguished Toastmaster Miranda Romy.
Thank you so much, Charm, for the warm introduction and welcome. And good evening to all of you. I want to start this with a question. Have you ever wanted to make somebody proud of you? Yes, I see a lot of yes. And who would that be? Let's see. You can share in the chat or just shout it out loud. Who would you want to make proud?
My mom.
Parents, mom. Yeah.
Myself.
Yourself. Okay, well, that's a bit rare. But yes, I think most people would think parents, right? I want to make my parents proud. 5 out of the 10 people, out of 10 of every class I taught and trained, when asked the question, what is your dream? Their dream is, I want to make my parents happy. I want to make my parents proud. So, yeah, it is a very common thought, and I have a story about this. A few days ago, I was listening to a Hall of Fame acceptance speech by an ex-American footballer, Shannon Sharpe, and being inducted to a Hall of Fame is a great honor for any sport, but none more so than for American football. It is the greatest achievement any footballer could ever dream of. These speeches are usually emotional, often full of funny anecdotes, and inspirational. So, but this Shannon Sharpe, I knew of him because he was one of the sports reporter, and he has a sports show called Undisputed. Shannon came from a very humble beginning. His granny took care of him since he was a 3-month-old baby. When Shannon started making millions in the NFL, the American Football Association League, he asked his granny, what did she want now that he could afford to buy her anything? His granny didn't want a new car. She didn't want jewelry. She just wanted a decent house. And by that, she meant a house that she didn't wake up wet after a full night of rain. For in all her 66 years of life, Shannon's granny never woke up not wet after a full night of rain. This really touched me because where I live now, with glass windows from ceiling to bottom around the house, I could see the rain and the wind. And because it's almost Chinese New Year, in my part of the world, it means very strong wind and rain almost every day leading up to the Chinese New Year. When I see hard rain, when I hear the windows rattled with the strong winds, I just thought, how blessed and lucky that I am inside, dry, cozy, and snug in a house that doesn't leak, no matter how hard the rain is. Back to Shannon. Toward the end of his speech, he spoke about paying respect to his grandma at her funeral service. He looked at her as she lay serenely in the casket, with her salt and pepper hair carefully braided. Shannon asked her two things, silently, of course. Granny, am I the man you thought I would be when you got on the train to Chicago and got me when I was 3 months old? Have I become the man you thought I would be? Shannon could imagine his granny smiling. Then he asked again, are you proud of me? Are you proud of your baby? Because everything I've done in my life, I've tried to please you. And Shannon concluded with, he said, I know my grandmother's proud and my family's proud of me. That was Shannon's story. That second question, are you proud of me, touched me to the core and perhaps an old wound because I started sobbing uncontrollably at that point. My story is so different from Shannon's. My mother is still alive at 93 years old. I never asked her that question. All my life, all I could remember from our conversations were criticism, blame, scolding, my faults and my flaws in my mother's eyes. Always disappointing. I remember constantly feeling I could not do things right. Whatever I did, there would be something bad or wrong with it. All the conversations we had were about what I did wrong or how I could do better. Nothing in between. This, despite the fact that all through high school, I was always in the top 5 of my class, did well in many things I did, like dancing, English, drawing, playing musical instruments, which drew the admirations of friends and foes, yet I was never praised by my own mother. When I was 25, my mother came to the US for my college graduation. She stayed for a month with me, a month. And boy, that was super awkward and extremely uncomfortable. We never really had a conversation. We never really close. And now we were confined together for 30 days, 24/7, for whole freaking 30 days, except for a week that we spent at the relative's house. And even that was full of reprimands or warnings. Behave yourself. Don't shame me. I was so miserable and just couldn't wait for her trip to be over. One day, after staying with the relatives near Los Angeles, I took my mom on a road trip to San Diego, a 2.5 hour drive. It was late afternoon, a beautiful day for driving along the Southern California coastal highway. The music was playing, barely audible in the car. And to break the awkward silence, of being alone with my mother, I asked her, Mother or Mummy, that's how I call her, how come you never praised me? I was very serious about this question, and I think this is like the first time I had that courage to ask her that. It's a question that had plagued me all my life. And to this, my mom said, at verbatim, I could not praise you because if I did, you will be big headed and you won't achieve anything. I didn't reply. I didn't have words to that. Well, this was 35 years ago. I was not this assertive, confident, and articulate Toastmaster in front of you now. Then I was speechless. But I remember feeling so sad, so angry, and so disappointed that she couldn't and wouldn't praise me, even though it would have meant so much to me if she just said once that I was good or that she was proud of me. And how much all my life I longed to hear a word of praise coming through her lips. 35 years went by. We never got closer, never really had deep conversations. The criticisms were less, but if I hang around her long enough, I would still get one or two. It was a relationship based on duty for both of us, her duty as a mother and my duty as a daughter. Hearing Shannon Sharp ask his dead grandmother, Are you proud of me? Poked a deep wound in me. And suddenly I realized that all I had ever done was to make her proud of me. And everything I did was an attempt to please her, to get her approval, even though I would never admit that to anyone. To the world, I was insouciant. I didn't care. I was silent. I never really talked to her. So, but in that moment of realization, I realized that I had lied to myself. I told myself I didn't care what she thought, and I was good enough as I was. There are enough people who admire me, who praised me. But looking back, I see now that every venture I attempted, every business I started, every initiative I made, all were done with the unconscious intent to prove myself to her that I am capable, that I am good, that I can be successful, then she would be proud of me. But with each endeavor, there was always an underlying fear inside me that this thing may not be successful, that this may fail again, and that my mom would be disappointed in me yet again. And as you know, with self prophecy, it usually becomes a reality, right? Because we so strongly believe what we believe would happen. So, with all that I did, I never really reached a peak of success, a success that my mom believed I should be able to achieve given my potentials and talents, to have a rich husband, to have a beautiful and big home, to have great savings, and all of that. So, as I sat there sobbing, triggered by the question, Are you proud of me? I asked myself, what is this sadness about? What is this sobbing and such emotional reaction about? Then it dawned on me. Somewhere in my childhood, I had made a conclusion that if I were criticized, blamed, and never praised, ever, scolded all the time, blamed, shamed, I must be bad. I must be not good enough, or I could never be good enough. And I came to believe that my mother was not proud of me, is not proud of me. I truly believed that as a child. Now, today, after a lot of child work and healing, I came to a place where I could examine what I just said as a belief. That was a belief that I created to make sense of what I was experiencing, to make a meaning what I was going through. So it became my thought, my perception of who I am. And I know that the emotions that arose, all came from having a belief and believing that belief that I am not good enough and that my mother is not proud of me as the only reality. That was what caused my suffering. That belief had been the motivation and the drive of everything that I do. But no matter how much I achieve, for as long as there is still a belief inside me that I am not good enough, no success will ever be enough. I will never be able to perceive success. All I can perceive is that I am not good enough and that my mother would not be proud of me. Luckily, I am a therapist now. And as a therapist, I now have tools that I could use. And even though I was sobbing and feeling so much sadness from being triggered, I knew I could take care of myself and do something about this, which now I recognize it was a belief that has been driving my life. So I got to work, did the steps I needed to do to delete or change this belief. The belief that triggered and affected me the most was that my mother could can never be proud of me, could never be proud of me, because that was what I was longing for. I wanted to be so good, to be perfect, to be great so that she could be proud of me. The process took me about 5 to 10 minutes total, and I came out feeling calm, great relief, more spacious and light, as if heavy weight had been taken off my soul. And most importantly, that belief no longer affected me. And today I'm going to share that process with you and going to invite you to do an exercise together with me. But before that, in summary, I believe we all have a child inside us who wants to make their parents proud. And that is like the greatest motivation we have inside us. This child who would ask if they could, because as a child we probably didn't think of that and couldn't think of asking this question: are you proud of me? And if we're honest with ourselves, so many things we do, our drive towards achievements, our ambitions, our successes are fueled by the need to make our parents proud of us. And the lack of that, if we don't feel like we can make our parents proud of us, then we carry that shame and carry that disappointment. It is not wrong to want to make our parents proud of us. But sometimes, if you were like me, you spend your life trying to please our parents, trying to get the approval that may never come until they die, or even after they die. And you keep trying to get their approval even when they're no longer around without you realizing it. And when you do that unconsciously, you could be unconsciously living someone's ambitions and dreams, not your own. Therefore, becoming conscious and aware of what beliefs are driving us, you, each of us, is very important to take our life back and to begin living for ourselves, not for other people, dead or alive. And we can do that. We can be free. To do that, we need to examine our beliefs and check if our beliefs about ourselves or other people are running and driving our life, sometimes quite messily. So once we know, or I would just say you because I'm also talking to myself, then you can make a choice whether to continue as you are, driven by your belief, or create a new belief that will make you happier, healthier, and more fulfilled and authentically successful. So today I would like to share this process to change beliefs with you. The process is called The Work by Byron Katie. Some of you may already heard of her. It's a process that a lot of therapists in the world now use to revoke or change a deep-seated, often self-limiting beliefs that stop us from living our potentials fully and doing so very quickly and effectively. But before I continue with that, with the process, in the next 5 to 10 minutes, I would like to hear from a few people, 2 or 3 people, if any comment or question, if you have any comment or questions about what I just shared with you. None?
Hello.
That's okay.
Definitely.
I think I want to ask something.
Who's that? Sorry, can you?
I'm
Yeah.
Yusra, Yusra.
Yusra. Okay, Yusra. And I saw also Eric raising your hand. Yes, Yusra.
I'm a child psychology student. I'm now a 6 years client in dialectical behavior therapy. So I think I can relate a bit with radical acceptance. So my question here, what is the belief is truly right that the mother doesn't proud of the child?
Sorry, can you repeat your question? Is the belief? Sorry?
What is the belief is truly right that the mother doesn't proud of the child?
Yeah. Okay. That will be revealed in the next in the process, because we are going to question that belief, and there's a process. Yeah. So is that okay if we wait for a little bit later, and then you will
Okay, sure.
get the answer? Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Eric.
I was listening to you, but I could not put my finger on the needle. When did the needle drop for you to realize that you need help?
That I needed help. Is that what you said?
Yes, that you need to do something about your belief.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, I've been working on this, I guess, in the process of becoming a therapist. We learn about the beliefs and the effect of beliefs, and then what to do, if you have beliefs. So in the process of that, I think it's a maturing process, because the experience was like 25 years ago, and it's been going on, and I haven't really lived close to my parents or my mom in the recent years. So I wasn't really thinking that I was, criticized, but somehow I start remembering back. And then when I listened to that speech, like I guess I react now more through feelings and bodily sensations. So I don't need to think about it, but I heard that and I just start sobbing. Right. And then I asked myself, rather than, just going into the crying. So I knew that, okay, there's something here. There's something that is related to an unintegrated emotions from my past. So I just have that. And then I asked myself, so what is it? Right. And then there's a process that I would like to invite all of you to do with me a little bit later. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Maybe comments or question?
Raise hand from Hari.
Oh, Harry.
Yes.
Yes, please, Harry.
Hi, I just wanted to say there were two things that jumped out at me listening to you. The
Uh-huh.
first was that I think different people treat praise in different ways. As you said, your mother, for example, thought that praise would make you big-headed. And that, I think, so my question about that is, do you think it's cyclical? Is it like a poverty cycle? That when you as a child did not get the praise that you wanted, you felt then that I should not praise, because if I praise, it would lead to a negative result rather than a positive result. So that's the first question. The second thing I thought, listening to your wonderful story, was that people get affirmation. People seem to need this affirmation from a third party. I'm only good if someone says, I am proud of you. And I think that is essentially the problem. And that's just my own view. I think once you get away from this idea that you are only good if somebody tells you are good, then you have a problem with defining your self-worth. And I think that seems to be one avenue people should be thinking about. I don't need them. I don't need my mother to say I'm good. If I'm good, I'm good. You know, it's a fact. So one question and one comment. So the question, just to remind you, Miranda, is, do you think it's cyclical? Is it a vicious cycle? People who never get praised do not praise. Go ahead, Miranda. Thank you.
Yes, I'm going to answer the cyclical part a bit from a different angle. So one thing, I think if you've never been praised, then that's true. You know, it's harder for you to praise others, right? It's just like because you don't have that in your DNA. However, it's also true about the scarcity thing. So if you were not praised, then you'll be longing so much to be praised, and you will be, it's like a hungry ghost. You would go around and asking people, and maybe you cannot ask your parents, but you would ask people, how do you like my presentation? You know, you go to people to get that praises. Unconsciously, you're just activating or playing out the same dynamics. You couldn't ask because you're like in my case, my mom said, I'm not going to praise you. Okay, then I have to ask somebody else, you know, to get that confirmation, right? So and I like about like, okay, I'm just talking about me because I wasn't praised, so I became quite critical, Harry. So I, you know, like in trauma work, like, you know, if you don't it's not released or healed, you actually became, you take the energy of the predator. So you became the person, yeah, like if I was criticized, then I became a critical person. So I need to work through that a lot. And now and I guess I do praise, and I praise very sincerely, but not too frivolously. Like I wouldn't praise unless it means something, right? Yeah, and so, and but sometimes I also praise things that others don't praise because they don't. I see the potentials and stuff like that. Okay, and then the second one. Can you repeat what your comment was? I'm so in the moment, I forget now.
No, I was just saying that one way out of this is actually to
Oh
stop
yeah, okay.
requiring affirmation from a third party.
Okay, that's, I'm going to get there eventually, because yeah, the only person, I mean, we'll get there. The only person that that is the most important person to you is who?
It's yourself.
Yeah, yourself. That's all that really matters. That you are proud of yourself, right? And we'll when we go through this exercise, you will see, and you will get there. Then something will shift. Something would be interesting. Yeah. I think one more question. If not, I'm going to go to the next part.
Jay has a question. Miranda. Jay.
Hey,
Okay.
hi.
Hi, Jay.
Hey, hi, Miranda. I was here for your keynote. I must tell you, this is one of your better sharing sessions. I will refrain from saying best because I want to hear so much more from you going forward. Hopefully, even better, inspiring speeches. This is good. My question is very simple, Miranda, and it is: are you proud of who you have become today? And I'd like you to benchmark your answer in comparison with when you were 25 in the car with your mother. I'll just repeat a simple question. Are you proud of who you've become today?
I'm damn proud of myself, Harry. I mean, sorry, Jay. You're right next to each other in my screen. Yes, I am proud. I've become quite somebody in my eyes. And
Yeah,
that's all that really matters. Yeah, but it's been an arduous and long journey to get there. There were so many doubts, so many yeah, just lack of trust in myself and not having the beliefs. But we'll get there. Okay? So thank you. So, and yes, the best is always yet to come. Thank you for reminding me that. Okay, so now let's continue. I would like to invite you all to participate in this exercise. I don't know if any of you had that, this "Are you proud of me?" has triggered something in you, or it could be something else. It could be something that bothers you. He's that, a statement or a belief about something or a judgment about something. And if you want, you can write it down or you can just think it through. So just come up with a statement. And I would suggest it's something that is not positive or happy like that, like something that's a bit negative about a person, about yourself, about the world. Have a statement. All right. Okay, I see some people looking down. Looks like you're writing. So I'll wait for a few seconds. Oh, I'm going to share what I did for myself. Okay. So my statement when I did this exercise a few days ago was that my mother was not proud of me, cannot be proud of me. So that was my statement. Okay. So now, okay, don't make it too long. Don't make it a paragraph. Just one sentence, please. Right? Now, ask yourself, is it true? Is your statement true? And just be very honest, don't try to be too positive and just like answer. If you want to say it's true, but inside it's kind of like, be honest with yourself. You can say it is, yeah, it's kind of true, but blah, 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 blah. Allow yourself to experience all that. All right. So is it true? So that is the first question. So this thing, what we're doing is called the work, and it has 4 questions and then an addition, one last action step in the end. Okay, so you already asked that. Is it true? You can close your eyes, you can feel it, you can write it, or you can just argue with yourself whether it's true or not. All right, now the second question, looking at that statement, you ask yourself again, can you absolutely know that it's true? That person is just bad. Something like that, right? They did this and did that. Okay, so can you absolutely know that it is true? Okay, we cannot do a lot of exchange here, but from my experience and from experience of millions of people who have done it, when you actually ask, can you absolutely know that it's true? Okay, let me do mine so that you guys can have an example of what I was doing. Is it true? So when I said that, yeah, she never said it, she never showed that she's proud of me, or I cannot remember it. And then when I go to the next one, can you absolutely know that it's true? And I guess I know, this question is not going to be true, because how can I really know? I mean, when I look at it, all the things that I've said, they are my assumptions. They are my assumptions that she didn't do this, she didn't do this, and da 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 da. And yeah, so I kept thinking, and I said, yeah, maybe she could not say it. Maybe that's how she was raised. And then I remember one thing. She didn't praise me, but the way she said it was like this. I just got a divorce at that time. And then my mom said, if I had your courage, I would have divorced your dad. So, that was in a way a praise, or like she wished she could do what I did, right? So and that had been like a going narratives in our family. I mean, they fought, and I said like, why don't you divorce him? You brought the money in, and she always said like, yeah, well, he cannot live without me, and all this kind of excuses and bullshits. But at my divorce, like I was 33 at that time, and that's what she said. Right? So I said, oh, actually, maybe she did, uh, like was proud of me that I could do what I needed it to do. All right. So I can answer number two, that I cannot be absolutely true. I mean, I cannot know that it absolutely true that she was never proud of me. I never really asked her, So all those things, right? So, okay, let me go to the next step. How do you react when you believe that thought? So, how do I react, or how do I act or be when I believe that my mother did not, was not proud of me, or is not proud of me, or can never be proud of me? Yeah, this is on me, because then I would say, well, what's the point of doing things, because I would only get blamed or get scolded, and so a lot of the things that are really stopping me from doing big things or courageous things, because I just thought, oh, they're just going to find flaws. I mean, it's not just my mother, actually. It's also I have three other sisters, older sisters, who kind of like, yeah, criticize me a lot too. So I just thought like, oh, they're just going to criticize. They're just going to find what's wrong with it. Or they would say, how much money does it make? All those things, right? So I said, okay, yeah, I stopped myself because I believe it's going to be hard. I'm going to be disappointed. I'm not going to be approved of, and they're not going to be, proud of me. So I let that thought, and I let that belief to stop me from taking risks, from doing bigger things. I end up doing things that are easy for me, right? So that's what a belief does to you when you believe that, and that belief came from a little child, right? So it's not like an adult child, but it was still driving me. All right, so I would like you to also ask that question. How do you react? How would you be when you believe that thought? Okay, and allow yourself a few minutes just to come up with the answer. Yeah, be very honest. And what did you do when you have that belief? Okay, you're done. Now, I'm going to ask the fourth question, which is, who would you be without the thought? Who would you be without the thought? And for me, when I asked myself that question, I imagine if I didn't believe, or I didn't have that belief that my mother was not proud of me, or if I wanted to believe that my mother was proud of me, who would I be? And I could just feel the lightness filled me up, and I could do all these things. I could try things, and I would be not be afraid of making mistakes or failing. And if I failed, big deal. I'll just try again, and they would always be proud of me. So I imagine how I would look when I do that. I look more confident, I look more courageous, or I feel more courageous and more willing to try out new things, and do all these things that I had as imaginations or had dreams in my life that I had not taken on whenever it felt too difficult or too hard for me to do alone. Okay, so that was the question. Who would you be without the thoughts? All right. Now, before we go to step number 5, actually, I would love to ask you guys if anyone would like to share their process, just for an exercise. Anybody would like to share just the answer to your 4 questions?
May I share?
Yusra. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think you got your
Um,
answer through the process, right?
yes.
Yeah.
I can confirm that my mom like doesn't proud of me by her action. So as I'm doing now, I'm starting my own life far from my home and never get in touch with them anymore.
Okay. So, you didn't do the process, or you did the process?
Yes, I did the process before. I used to do this before, and I'm doing this one more time. After I think to myself, why should I care about my mom said? So I just move out.
All right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, actually, I did a similar thing. So I don't keep much contact with my family because why would you want to be blamed all the time? Right. So, okay. Anyone else would like to share their process and actually also what you experience as you're doing this process? Will, you?
Miranda,
Hey,
I've got a very, very similar story to tell. I don't know if this is a theme that goes around the world or something. Maybe back in those times, there was something in the water or something. I don't know. But you get to a point where yes, you obviously feel the pain first and it hurts, and you've got to work through all that, and you've got to deal with how it makes you feel. But eventually you get to the point where you go, enough. And it's that point where you realize, if you can't be enough for yourself, then nothing anyone else, including your parents, have to say about you is going to be enough. You need to be, first and foremost, working on your relationship with yourself and loving yourself for the person that you are. For me, that was my process.
Yes.
We know that this is in our minds, right? We fight these battles in our minds between our two ears. And it's very easy to kind of transfer blame to our parents or to our loved ones, or whoever you feel doesn't give you enough affirmation, when the only affirmation you ever needed was your own.
Yeah.
That for me was
Yeah.
that for me was my journey.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Will, for sharing that. And, I brought this topic up because I realized once it hit me, actually, this is a very common topic, right? That everyone wants to make their parents proud without even realizing what they're doing. They just thought if they do that, then life would be great or something like that, right? But so what I'm trying to bring with this talk, with also with this exercise, is to realize, just to be aware of what we're actually living for, and what does that really mean when you say that, right? When I was doing a lot of training, and the students, they have to fill out the form, talk a little bit about themselves, and they would end up with what would you be, your dream be, and they just said, I would like to make my parents happy. And I just like, okay, I didn't bring that, but I would question them, because I know, like, I mean, and I knew some people who were abused so much more than I have. I mean, mine is probably more emotional abuse and than anything. But this, this person he was beaten up, like just abused horribly. And when I met him, he was I think about my age, right? Which is at that time maybe around 50 something. And he so proudly shared that out of 9 children, he was the only one who took care of the parents. So that became his badge of honor, right? And I said, why are you doing that? And he never lived for himself. He just kept trying to prove that he was worthy, that he will make them proud. And I guess, I mean, I was like that too without even realizing though, even is realizing it, even though I was a rebel on the outside and I achieved, like things on my own, but still running that. But this is like, I guess I had done some work, a variation of work towards this, but today, I mean, with that, like that phrase somehow was a catalyst for me, and it's kind of like poked me deeper than other things. And then when I did this, it was actually very, very quick and very easy, um, because yeah, it's true, and it didn't really matter anymore, right? So now, so thank you for that sharing. And I don't know, I mean, if there are anyone else, but I think we're almost to the end of our session. And I would now do the next one, the next step. This is not the, it's not considered the step, but this is called a turnaround. So now you do a turnaround. Do a sentence expressing the opposite of what you just wrote, right? So in my case, for example, if there's any of you saying, my husband doesn't understand me, it could become, I don't understand him, or I don't understand myself. And in my case, how I turn it around, my mom was never proud of me. I could turn it around a few ways. One is like, my mom was proud of me, maybe, or I was not proud of myself, and that felt truer. So I was not proud of myself, and that's where I need to change it. It's not about doing something to make my mom proud, but I needed to look like, yeah, I'm looking at myself like my mom, who I believe criticized me, looking at me, and that's what needs to stop. And once I really realized that, and once I go through that steps, I know it's a very simple step, but somehow something was just released. Yeah, it's like, duh, right? Something that we could know, but we just like we lived without being aware of it, and we just keep going and we keep going and we keep going. So those are the 4 steps. I'm happy to share that in the chat later, but you can also look it up. It's called The Work by Byron Katie, and she had a totally spiritual experience, and this 4 question just landed on her. So she was, I think she was a woman, and she collapsed or fainted, and then when she woke up, this is after she got burnt out and all that, something came through. So I hope this helped for you, and this is not just about being like our relationship with our mom, but you can do it as simple as that, like yeah, she doesn't listen to me, she never listened to me, some things that are so common in life, and you just need to do like 5 minutes just to, yeah, like kind of neutralize that emotions, that anger, that hate, that kind, if you don't process that, it will affect your whole day, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes if I don't I stay unaware of what's bothering me, and I would just be thinking about it all day or all night, and sometimes lose sleep over it and keep thinking like, oh, why does that person do that, why is like this and like that, and I would have conversations going on in my head. So this is a process called The Work that you can use to help you with situations like that. And if you have you have beliefs and you want to work with certain beliefs that are feels deep for you, and you cannot work it out with your mind, you can use this. All right. Okay, so do the turnaround in however way you can, and just look which one feels true to you. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's I think about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and I would like to close this. I hope you have enjoyed this, and if you do, or if you have some thought about it, some question, please share in the chat. I would love to communicate with you a little bit more. And in conclusion, I think now that we know, that we're aware that probably many of us had this experience of trying to make our parents proud, and are aware that we were never praised, or nobody really said that they're proud of us. We can say that to ourselves, and maybe we can also help the world a little bit. Tell people that when you find something that you're proud of, share it with them. Say it out loud and say it often. I am proud of you. And with that, back to you, Toastmaster of the meeting, Charm.
Thank you, Miranda. That was a thought-provoking speech and something that we can actually do the work on. I have followed Byron Katie's work as well, so it is good to hear about it again. A reminder for self, do the work. Yes, and we've come to the end of the speeches. Timer, Harlina,